Thanks for checking in from wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Practical Wisdom for Leaders, the official podcast of the International Leadership Association. I'm your host, Scott J. Allen, and each week I invite executives and scholars to explore the real work of leadership. This podcast is part of a global community committed to helping leaders thrive. If you find these conversations valuable, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to the podcast, and share this episode with others. To learn more about me, visit www.scottjallen.net. And now, here's today's episode.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for checking in wherever you are in the world. Practical Wisdom for Leaders. And today I have Jon Acuff, a returning guest, just a guest that I absolutely love having conversations with. He is a New York Times best-selling author. He is a keynoter. He is, Jon, I call this kind of we're moving into summer. So I have a Jon Acuff gazpacho. Are you ready? Gazpacho.
Let's hear it.
Do you know gazpacho? Do you know gazpacho? It's a tomato-based.
I don't know if I know it personally, but I've eaten it. Yeah, totally.
Cold soup, summer soup. And this is why I really appreciate you. This is my Jon Acuff gazpacho. The base, the tomato. That is your that's your curiosity. You are fueled. Okay. You are fueled by curiosity, my friend. Now, gazpacho has some cucumber in it, and that for me is your passion for the work that you do. So that's in there. A good gazpacho oftentimes has a little green pepper. For me, that's your humor. I think that differentiates you, and really just your humor just really adds a lot to the dish. Onion. Your vulnerability, especially in this latest book, and maybe you've been vulnerable in other books, but in this book, you do a really nice job of kind of bringing us into some of the struggles you've had over the years. And I think that's just a really, really powerful kind of attribute that you bring to the table. And then finally, you just do such a beautiful job of integrating. I can listen to your work, and I know that you've done the research. I know you're citing meta-analyses that the reader could read but doesn't want to. But you've done that research. Yeah. You've done that research. So for me, you know what? It's curiosity, passion, humor, vulnerability, integration. I just love the work that you do. And so super excited for this conversation. Super excited for a quick kind of, we're going to not totally land on all aspects of the most recent book, but kind of land on one area that really caught my attention in a nice way. But, I think there's some words in this most recent book, and I have to tell you a quick story before we jump in. I was on a walk this morning, and my neighbor paused, and she looked at me, and she said, "What you up to?" And I said, "Oh, I'm listening to a book for a podcast I'm doing today." And she said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Yeah. I'm about 3 hours in. It's about 6 hours. It's about procrastination." She's like, "Well, good job. You need it."
You better put that on like 4x speed if you're talking to them later. Yeah. So, I waited until today. The book's been out a month, but today's the day. Yeah.
So I started it yesterday. Yeah. I got 2 more hours in today. So I'm 3 hours in full transparency.
Let's go.
But I love it. So, you got some big words in here. Permission, remarkable. And I love this word, remarkable. The book is about why we procrastinate. But where I want to center the conversation today, you have this passage. It's 7 reasons people don't choose remarkable. And so let's go there. Is that cool? Can we kind of go in that direction?
I would love to. It's funny. I don't think I've done probably 50 or 60 podcast interviews for this book, and no one's centered on that. So when you said, "Hey, what if I was thrilled." Yeah, I think this is going to be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have to do the same stories. Like, let's go.
Cool.
There's the vulnerability. I'll get to talk about something different. Let's go.
Yes, exactly. So, what do you think? I mean, and if you want to set up the book for listeners, you totally can. But what do you think? 7 reasons.
Well, the concept of the book. So I define procrastination as when your actions don't match your intentions. Who you say you want to be isn't who you're being. There's a gap, and for some people, it's a really wide gap. And remarkable is the opposite of that. When your actions match your intentions, when the Venn diagram looks like an eclipse, like the two things are so closely related that who you say you want to be is who you're being. So I started to think through, okay, if you were given the choice to be remarkable or not, no one would ever choose not. If I said to you, Scott, you can have an average marriage where like you're kind of just partners, you're like two ships that live in the same house, but you don't really ever cross. And eventually when your kids go to college, you get a divorce and you go out on the dating scene and discover that's a disaster. Or you can have a remarkable marriage. Like which one? No one goes, give me that first one. Number same
two.
with finances. Like you'd never say like one of the largest Kickstarters right now in our country is for funerals, meaning people are so destitute at the end of their lives, their family in the midst of tragedy now has to crowdsource a burial. Like, oh my gosh. So if I said to you, Scott, your kids will have to panhandle for your funeral, or you could make like a good amount of money and be responsible with it and steward it, blah, blah, blah. Which one? You wouldn't go, I want my kids raising money for my funeral.
10
That'll
grand.
show them. That'll show them. And I want a teak coffin. I don't even know if those are nice. So then I was like, well, why don't people choose remarkable? And that's where that started. So like the genesis of that idea was like, no one would ever willingly choose average or below average. So why don't we? And so the list started there. And then I just started to kind of go, okay, the people I know, the research I've seen, like one reason they don't choose it, the first one was they don't even know it exists. And I was able to see that because I live in a weird city. I live outside of Nashville, and people here have weird jobs. And like one of my examples was the guy who wins the Christmas tree lighting in our neighborhood every year does lighting for Eric Clapton and Miranda Lambert. So he's got a bit of an advantage. He's an amazing guy. But that job only exists in very small pockets of the country. So he didn't know that was even a possibility. So I live in a city where people have discovered like, oh no, I can be a tour manager. Like I know somebody the other day, they're a tour manager. They just went and did like 10 days in Dubai with Mr. Beast because they were off of the tour with Hardy, this country musician. It's like, that's a weird job. Sometimes we just don't even know it's possible. No one in your city was a writer. No one was a professor. The idea that you could be a professor was so it's not that they're choosing not to choose it. They just don't even know it's an option. So that's the first reason I think sometimes people don't choose remarkable.
Yep. And yeah, to your point, I grew up in Pocatello, Idaho, and I wasn't exposed to really any of those opportunities or any of those options. You were going to be a rancher or whatever it is, right? I mean, that was the family business.
How did you make step? Like when did you bump into other possibilities?
I had a professor in graduate school who said, you could get a doctorate. And I had never even identified as someone who could achieve that. And she was Brenda Gardner. She was the woman who looked at me and opened doors to something I never would have even thought possible. So that immediately comes to mind for me. I never thought of it.
Yeah. Isn't that wild that like, it wasn't that you had a 6-month mentorship and she did a million things. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Like
Moment. It was a sentence. Changed my life. I went home. I started doing research, but it was a sentence, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating. Fundamentally changed the trajectory.
And what's interesting about that is it actually ties into the second reason. Often somebody told the person you don't get to be remarkable. Like they had the opposite experience. Not only did I not have a professor speak that into me, I had a professor say the opposite, or I had a teacher say, you're not a natural leader. And I was young enough to just believe people in authority, not question people in authority. And I just accepted it. And then for the next 30 years, I listened to what I would call that soundtrack for over and over and over again. So then I've got to overcome that,
100%.
which again is why it's wild. And even like it could be on a podcast that you do that. The words we do. And that's what's fun for me. As I've become more successful in writing, I'm able to encourage younger writers in a different way. Like for me, my moment, Stephen Pressfield, my favorite book, probably top 3 for me. I have to say the Bible because I'm a Christian, and by law, you have to be like, oh, who would I have dinner with? Jesus. But other than Jesus, we have this whole thing where we go, other than Jesus, other than the Bible. So other than the Bible, Scott, is Stephen Pressfield's War of Art. And I wrote him asking for an endorsement on my first business book, a book called Quitter, and I was terrified. And I asked him for an endorsement. I remember where I was when I got it. He emailed me back. I was in Crested Butte, Colorado, in the back of an old Suburban, and I got an email, and he said, "I don't know what else you're doing right now in life, but quit. Whatever else you're doing, quit. You have to write. Like you
Wow.
have to." And it like he poured into me, and it was that kind of moment. So the reverse though happens for a lot of people, where somebody told you, a pastor, a coach, a teacher, a parent, God forbid, says like, "Hey, here's the limit of what you're capable of," or "You're this type of person." And where you see that, Scott, is like later on in life, people will tell you their labels, and they'll say things like, "Well, I'm not athletic." And
Yep.
then that's a label. And then they'll say, "My sister was the athletic one. I was the smart one."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, this was from 7th grade.
Yeah, you've
This
carried
label
this.
has a 30-year runway."
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
and then we come up with clever ways to say it and kind of justify it. Somebody told me my biggest muscle has always been my brain, which is just like a clever way to kind of justify it. And so I think that's part of the reason we don't choose remarkable, is the voices we've believed along the way too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So, and I know in the book you kind of talk about, look, don't let this chart your course. This may have happened, but you can move forward from these things. But for me, a moment like that was, it's 8th grade. I've got a D and math, geometry, like numbers are becoming letters, Pythagorean's theorem. There's all these triangles, circles and shit.
Why do we care so much about triangles? Why? Why, of all the shapes, triangles are where we based our life?
I can't even spell isosceles or say it, and so, and yeah, the teacher who was probably about ready to retire, who was burnt out, and my mom, they looked at me and they were like, "You're probably not a math kid." And so, that's one of those things. And I love space. I love anything having to do with physics. I mean, I will consume that content. Now, I may not have been Einstein, but oh my gosh, I have a passion for those topics. But I carried that with me forward until my PhD, when I started saying, okay, I'm going to learn statistics. I'm going to maybe not be, again, Einstein, but I know I can do this, right?
Yeah, so, and now you have a PhD, which is great. I mean, again, if you could tell that 8th grade you, like, "Hey, I know this just got said, but like, I'm going to blow your mind in the future." You have a PhD. People pay you to come teach them. In addition to universities, the top brands in the world pay you for your idea. Like, I know you can't believe it right now because you just got this label or whatever. So yeah, I think that's that's why permission matters, is giving yourself permission to say, "No, I'm getting my PhD. I'm going to get into statistics. Like, I need to do that." So and I have permission to change that old label.
Yeah. 100%. Okay. Number 3. What do we got?
Often we feel like it's going to be too complicated. Remarkable is complicated. And the example I use is what I would consider a really broken soundtrack, which is things like mo money, mo problems. We in our culture believe the more money I have, the more stress, the more money I have, the more problems. And I've had no money and I've had some money. Like the way I like to say it, when we were newly married, I didn't know we were poor. I just thought we liked camping. And
I told myself ramen was good.
Yeah, I said to my wife, like, "We sure were outdoorsy when we were young." And she was like, "No, we were broke. Like, we didn't like camping. It was only $11 a night at a campsite. That's the only place we could afford to sleep on vacation, was $11." I was like, now that you say it, we were poor. And I just started to put the pieces together. But I've had no money, and I've had some money, and some money, like, you can fix the problems. Like when a transmission goes in a car and you have no money, it's a disaster. When you have some money, it's an inconvenience. But if you think on the outside, if I write a book, if I go to get my PhD, if I start a podcast, like, it's going to be so complicated. How would I even do it? You talk yourself out of it before you even try it. And you also you sometimes look at the end too quickly, meaning if you wanted to start a podcast and you told me, "John, but I'm not good at YouTube," I would say, you don't have to be good at YouTube right away. Like it's a mic, like go at the smallest level to it. But you look at the end goal sometimes, you go, I've had people say to me, well, I want to write a book, but I don't want it to get stolen by somebody else. And then I'd have to figure out like copyright infringement. And I don't know, a lawyer. And I'm like, the book doesn't exist yet. What?
Dude,
Like,
that is some mental gymnastics. That is 2 twists with like a backflip.
Like, I sometimes tell people, go get that problem. I'll tell them, go get that problem. Because they'll go, another one is they'll say, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't want to get a divorce and I don't want to abandon my kids. As if there's 2 options. Sit on the dream you care about and feel called to, or divorce and your kids don't know your name. Like, there's a lot of other options. Like, but they're worried about it's going to be so and I always say, like, go get the problem where you have to hire help. Like, go get that problem. That'd be an amazing. I would love for your problem to be like, we don't have enough inventory. And it's like, what an amazing problem. Let's go get it first. But if you pre-decide it's too complicated, you won't take any of the steps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think these things can be really big in our heads. And I had a guest on, Robert Livingston. He's at Harvard Kennedy School, or was at the time. And he said something to the effect of, when it comes to mental gymnastics, most of us are Olympians. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just even the examples you gave, I mean, it's fascinating how you land from here to, well, I'm never going to be Stephen Bartlett. So,
yeah. Why would I even try that? Yeah. Why would I? So the thing, here's where I
don't have glass in my studio and orbs and
I don't
silver
even know
cups.
Elon. I don't know, like, how would I even do that? You're like, I don't know Matthew McConaughey. I can't start a podcast. And you're like, what? No, my version of that I've started to ask is, in my field, people love to tell me I'm leaving money on the table. There's this fictional pile of cash somewhere that I'm leaving on the table, and it's apparently also very easy to get, and I'm being dumb by not just getting it. And they'll go, oh, and then they'll name somebody who is getting it. And they'll go, so-and-so is killing it. And they never mention the work they do. So now what I've started to do is they'll go, oh, so-and-so's killing it. And I'll go, have they written 11 books? Oh, no, that's their whole thing. Like, YouTube is their entire business. It's not my entire business. So I'm going to do the things I do and do them to the best of my abilities, but I'm not going to go, oh, I'm missing out on something that I really am not trying to build anyway. And so, like, the mental gymnastics part of it, my version of that is I tell people all the time, you're the most persuasive person you've ever met.
Yes.
Like, you just are, like, because you talk yourself into every decision, often bad ones, where you're like, this was going to work out. Like, this is totally, and then it doesn't. And you're like, who talked me into that? Like, yeah, you did.
You did.
You did. You're great at you. You were the best salesman in the world. I tell people that all the time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. So we're on 4, right?
Yeah, 4.
Okay.
So 4 is related to that marriage thing I just touched on. 4 is they believe remarkable is a limited resource, meaning if I choose it in one part of my life, the other parts of my life have to suffer. And this one starts because often we have an example of that. Like, we worked with a leader who was the top leader at the company, but had a train wreck of a marriage, or had a series of bad marriages, or their kids didn't talk to them, or their health was really, really terrible because they're always on the road. And we think that's what, to get that level of excellence or remarkable, I have to be that. And what I like to argue is discipline is contagious. Like, usually what happens is when you work on one area of your life, it bleeds over into others. Like, all of a sudden, I saw that. I worked for Dave Ramsey for 3 years, and I would see that at his events all the time. People would come up and go, hey, your book changed my marriage. And we would go, what? Like, it's a financial, it's about budgeting and envelopes. Like, what do you, and they would say, no, when we got serious about that, we got serious about how we talked with each other, and we started to be more honest with each other. And that changed our marriage. And so I think that's what often happens if we allow it to happen.
Yep.
If we allow it to spread to other parts of our life.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think it's that thinking that is either or. It's not both and. I think the question is, how do I have a really successful speaking business and an incredible marriage and an incredible relationship with my daughters? That's
and make those, but also it's the decision to say, this is my definition of success.
Yes, 100%.
Because if you don't have that, the world will sell you a lot of bad definitions. And so I had a leader who was 58 the other day tell me, he was talking, and he's years ahead of me in a bunch of different levels, but he was like, yeah, there's a couple of vanity numbers I no longer care about. And I was like, oh, and he's like, yeah, when you get to 58, you just start to see some things as vanity numbers. And I was like, well, I'm 50. I'm not gonna wait. Like, what are the vanity numbers? Like, and it was
Save me
it
some
was some
time.
social media stuff, like save me some time. Like,
Yeah.
if this doesn't matter, but this does. So I think that's part of it is like, for you, if I said, okay, your definition of success or the areas you really think about being successful in, what would you say the areas are?
For me personally,
Yeah.
Incredible family life,
Mm-hmm.
um, work that fuels my curiosity consistently.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I was in higher ed for 17 years, professor of management, had a job for life, was no longer feeling fulfilled in that role.
Mm-hmm.
So made a transition. And now doing work that I'm completely turned on by. So there's this insatiable curiosity that I have as well. And if I stay in that space, that's where I do all of my best work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's family, it's curiosity, and then it's shared experiences with my loved ones and close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's travel. Like, our goal was to get our kids to all 50 states. We've now started traveling the world a little bit. On our way to
love
coast.
it.
Yeah. So that for me is a life well lived, making enough money to fund that,
Mm-hmm.
working on things that fuel me, and surrounding myself with people I love and care about. That's and you talk about it in the book. Look, who are you spending time with? And that's an important
Mm-hmm.
decision rule, because are you spending time with folks who help you elevate to the next level, or are you spending time with folks who are dragging you down? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and
for
if you're
me,
not careful, if you don't review, that's part of the review. Like, oh,
yeah,
wait, am I where I want to be? And if
yeah,
I'm not, what are some changes I can make? But I
yeah,
think a lot of people they're not introspective enough. I tell people you should be the greatest note taker about your life. Like, you should be a documentarian about your life.
yeah.
And pay attention to, oh, this lit me up. Oh, this was this, and constantly, I think about that a lot.
Well, and you're an incredible note taker. I've sat next to you while you're listening to random people on the stage, and you're
Mm-hmm.
capturing little bites and taking it down,
Mm-hmm.
and consuming and taking it in. I mean, I've witnessed
Well,
that
for us,
firsthand.
I mean, our job, like, we get to sit in 50 of the best classrooms a year. Like, and if you pay attention, you get to learn individually, but then you also get to help the next company and go,
Yeah,
hey, here's the thing and like, every time you help a certain sector of Lexus, the next one benefits too, because
yeah,
you go, I got this question last time. So I want to go ahead and answer it, because I think 5 of you probably have the question too. And that person was brave enough to say it. So here's what,
yep,
and it's just rolling. That's that rolling curiosity. Like, it's rolling downhill, gathering other things.
100%, 100%. Okay, are we on 5? We're on 5.
Yeah, 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one, number 5, speaking of people and community, is they're afraid remarkable will cost them community.
Mm,
And this comes about a few ways. Somebody the other day, a guy in his 50s, we were talking about broken soundtracks, and he said, I have a broken soundtrack around food. And I was like, all right, well, tell me about that. And he said, in my family, food was comfort, food was culture, food was togetherness, food was celebration, food was big Southern family. And so he said, I feel like for me to get healthy is to disown my family, to disobey my family, to, like, what do I do with Thanksgiving? If I show up and my mom, who loves to love me by, like, I made your favorite whatever, like, and I tell her, oh no, just a little, like, I don't, how do I, so there's this sense of, if I change my life and become remarkable, will that lead to isolation?
yeah,
And the reality is, there are some relationships you'll no longer have, because there's people in our life who throw water, not fuel. Like,
yeah,
there's people I know that would say, because you and I have a unique job where it's like, well, why do you keep doing that? Why did you get up? I got up yesterday at 3:30 to catch an early flight back from Seattle. Like, that wasn't an easy trip. Like,
nope,
and there's people that would say, like, why do you, if you have a very kind of normal job, the idea of doing some work on a Saturday is like, what are you doing? Why don't you leave it at the office? Why do you? And so those are the type of people that I have to be careful with about how I share my goals. Because if I say, I want to accomplish blank, I want to, make X amount of money, they go, what would you even do with that? Like their definition of a lot, I've just violated.
Yeah.
And now if they have their own broken soundtracks about money equals selfishness, then they're totally going to tell me like, wow, must be nice, or like, wow, like how selfish, like, and so you just have to be careful. But what you find is when you become remarkable people want to be with you. Like you get to hang out with people that do throw fuel, not water, that do go, oh my gosh, like that, you tried this. Have you ever tried that? Like, here's something, and you link arms with those people and you get an entirely different community. And I don't mean
appreciative, right? It's appreciative. I mean, it builds up, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I don't mean that in the cheap kind of fast way of that online is, you got haters, you should drop toxic people. I think we overuse that as an excuse to push out people who give us real feedback sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody who gives me real feedback that helps me grow isn't a toxic person. Like it's somebody who's trying to help me, and they're not a hater. There's somebody who goes, hey, I think you could do that better. And if it's somebody I know and trust, then great. But I just think you have to be smart about that, because that community helps set the pace. They help set what's like the new normal, the new excitement, the new generosity, like, and so you actually do get community. You just sometimes will have to make some community decisions that are initially uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we all have those relationships. My wife and I, you've had this happen for sure. You go out with another couple and you have a dinner, and you're driving home and you're like, did they ask one question the whole night?
Yeah.
Like, did anything come back over the fence about us?
No.
Or was it just about their pickleball?
No.
I don't know. Yeah. And so, but we're constantly kind of just curating, like, okay, we're probably not going to put a lot of energy into that one. And again, it's not like you're elitist, but who are those individuals and what are those circles that are going to help you be the best version of you and be remarkable? And I think it requires a little bit of discernment and curation. I mean, it kind of does, right?
Well, and I would say, you mentioned, that's a great word, Scott, elitist. I do a workout called F3, which is held outside. It's free. It's for men. It's rain or shine. Some days it's 8 degrees. Some days it's 90. And all of those guys are at different economic levels. Like, that's not the thing that unites us. What unites us is we already did a hard thing. We got out in the dark at 5:30. Like 99% of the other guys sleeping in the houses near us are not doing that. And then we worked out for 45 minutes in a difficult way. So that's what bonds us. So there's no. Like, when I say you hang out with other remarkable people, it doesn't mean financially. It can, but it doesn't mean that all. It could be strong marriage. Like, have you ever gone out with a couple where you're like, boy, they don't like each other?
Yeah,
like,
100%. They asked us nothing, and they kind of hate each other. Did you?
Yeah, like it wasn't, I think or like, have you ever, for us, it's like, there's guys I know, and I'm like, do you ever spend time with your wife? Like, cause I seem like, I'm like, oh, then I told Jenny this, and they're like, I don't talk to my wife about business. And I'm like, just all of it? Your whole career? Not like, that's off limits? Like, how would I even do any of this? Like, we have
a couple that at times, I mean, it's happened 5 or 6 times over about 10 years where something is communicated, and it's like a fairly significant kind of piece of information, like with us there. And the other person's like, for real? We're getting a dog? You've ordered a dog? You know?
Yeah, totally. You bought a boat? When is it getting delivered?
What is this?
No, I don't. For me, I wrote on LinkedIn today a post about 7 reasons your spouse doesn't support your dream. Yeah. And it's kind of related to this question of like, okay, well, how are you bringing them into it? Like, how are you showing them actions, not just words? Like, because it's easy to, like, Jenny for years heard me say I was going to write a book someday. You can't support just words. Like, that's exhausting and useless. But when I started getting up earlier in the morning, she could be like, oh, something's different. Like, oh, like, that a spouse can get on board with. But yeah, so I think part of it is that who's in your circle, who's outside your circle, who do you, and you're right, you curate it and you figure it out over time. Like it takes time, like anything good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 6.
The 6th reason people don't choose remarkable is they're worried about public criticism. And like a lot of these on the list, this has a grain of truth. There's a kernel of truth to this. Meaning, like, I didn't have a 1-star review written about me until I wrote a book. Like when I was a copywriter at Home Depot writing about rugs, no one ever was like, no stranger on Amazon was like, have you read Jon Acuff's rug headlines? He doesn't understand rugs. Like, he's terrible at sitting in a cubicle. He slouches, his body language, whatever. But as soon as I released the book, now I've exposed myself to criticism. So there is kind of that sense, but I just looked at it like I got a review once from a literary magazine that it was the worst review an author can get. And it said essentially, Jon Acuff's really passionate, that comes through, but ultimately this is a pamphlet padded out to, or yeah, it's a pamphlet padded out to a full-length book. And like every author is terrified of that. Like,
Yeah.
and they said it, and it hurt, and I processed it, but then I was like, that book sold 200,000 copies. I would never trade that. If somebody said to me, hey, you're going to have a book that helps 200,000 people and you're going to get to talk about it, but somebody is going to say a mean sentence online in a literary magazine. So which one do you want? I would never go, I don't want that. Like, that sounds terrible. And so
I'm going to take that one, Jim. Yeah.
yeah, you know what? I'll sleep better knowing that. And I just think that that's part of it. But you also have to get to a spot where you can see that. You can rationally kind of go, oh. And for me, I'm still learning that. Like, I'm still in the trenches of that. Like, there's this where that shows up for me is the fear of the invisible they. Like, if I say this, they'll be mad. Like, if I say, because on the internet, like, I wrote this post kind of about like, I believe you can change your life. I believe like you can do both. Like, it was very like positive. It was not very, it didn't attack. And there was a lot of comments that were like, well, I couldn't do that. And I couldn't, and like very like, well, what do you say to somebody who's chronically ill? As if I had been like, and even chronically ill people, let me be real clear. I don't care that you're chronically ill. I'm actually saying this about you. But so like the internet reads everything through the lens of me. And so they are going to criticize you and go like, well, you didn't consider my life. And I'm like, I didn't know your life. I've never been to that state. Like, you live in North Dakota. I don't know. Like, I wasn't, but we have this tendency as humans to take it personally. So you are going to be criticized. Like, that's part, you leaving what you were doing. I'm sure there was criticism where people were like, you just got to the thing. The whole goal is the thing. And now you're going to do what? Like, and there were questions and like, how did you process that?
Well, as you were speaking, I was thinking of a story I just had a guest on, Mark Shapiro, and he's the CEO and president of the Toronto Blue Jays. And so his statement was something like, well, being in a role where everybody has an opinion for you, right? Like literally the whole community, you have to build that muscle of navigating that space. And what do I listen to? What do I pay attention to? What's the signal? What's the noise? And I mean, there's potential value in that person's perspective. At least you now have an awareness of it. But, and I should say, is this something that I'm going to hold on to? And I think for me, what's super helpful in that space are just thinking partners. Like my wife, I care about her perspective. My therapist, I care about his perspective. My mentor that I speak with every few weeks, I care about his kind of perspective on it. So who are those people that can help me discern, like, okay, what should I be listening to or not? What deserves my attention? And that's, but I get it. This one's a big one for me. This one's a big one for me that I'm actively pushing through as someone who's built a business and I'm working to build a speaking business and consulting business. You got to put yourself out there. And that's
part of, so we started these things called Stage and Page, which is a 2-day intensive event for 20 people, and speakers and writers. And that's one of the things we talk about where, okay, and it comes back to your definition of success. So if your goal as the president or the CEO of the Toronto Blue Jays is everybody is happy in Toronto, you're going to have the worst job ever because it's impossible. Like, there's always going to be like, you should trade so-and-so. I can't believe you brought so-and-so back. I can't believe you have him hitting in the 4th spot, whatever. But if your goal is, okay, we win the right games, we spend the right money, and give back to the community, whatever, or like for you, I check in with my wife, I check in with my therapist, I check in with my mentor, like, and they kind of go, oh yeah, you're still on. The flip side I would add to that for social media, just in our world, is not saying things to generate hateful response, just to generate attention. There's a lot of people that fall into that trap where they get something that goes viral with a lot of hate and they go, oh, what if I put my foot down? And like, now this is an issue. And like, they say something knowingly it's wrong to generate. And I'm just like, that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, that's the kind of criticism. I don't want to court it. But when it happens naturally, have I done the best job with the piece of content, the speech, whatever that I could do?
Yep. 100%. Okay. I think you're going to take us home here.
Yeah. So the last one is a biggie. It's that people don't choose remarkable because they haven't questioned what I call their acceptable success line. And their acceptable success line is kind of their definition of what's an acceptable level of success. And it's usually built off a few things. It can be like your parents' belief, the average salary of your closest friends, the town you grew up in, our education. I'll give you an example from my own life. A buddy of mine that I grew up with texted me about like some flights that I've been bouncing all over Dallas trying to get home. I got Dallas in February will trap me in an ice storm. Like I know it. Dallas knows it. It's happening.
DFW is I don't know, a portal to something not good.
Dude, few places on the planet make me question every life decision so quickly. Like when I get in that building, I'm like, what am I even doing? Well, all my decisions have been wrong. Whatever's brought me here. So a buddy of mine texted me from the town. I grew up in a very blue collar town in Massachusetts, great town, Hudson, Massachusetts. It's fancy now, but when I was like on Main Street, we had a biker bar and they sponsored our little league team. Billy Jack's biker bar sponsored our little league team. Now it's like Main Street of the US and it's beautiful. But a buddy of mine, I said, hey man, he texted me, he was like, congrats on making all those flights in Dallas. And I said, well, I didn't make them. Like my assistant booked all that. Like kudos to her. She was moving and he goes, oh, assistant, does she get you coffee too, kid? What are you doing? Like that was beyond his acceptable success line. And I was like, oh, okay.
Who have you become, huh? You're a big guy now.
My assistant. What, did she brush your teeth? And then the people I know that I'm emulating are all they all have some EA help or they all have and it's not like they're shining your shoes. And so that for me was like, oh, I just bumped into that. And you see that it's easy to see that with money where somebody, if you say so-and-so made this amount of money and somebody goes, what would you even do with all of that? What would you, and that now you've bumped into it versus oh, good for them. They work really hard. Man, that good for them versus what would you even do with that? So that's part of that relational thing is and the internal curiosity of, Dana Carvey, the comedian, I heard him once say he was in therapy because he could buy his nephew a $3,000 guitar, but not himself. And he was like, oh, I need to go explore that. Because he apparently, in his heart, acceptable success was you don't get to own a $3,000. You can give one. Other people can be blessed with that, but not you. And it's like, oh, I need to kind of work on that a little bit. And so the acceptable success line is fascinating to me.
Well, okay, listeners, 7 reasons people don't choose.
Well, no, before we leave,
have
you where's an example of you raising your acceptable success line? Because I'm sure you have in healthy ways.
Where someone has kind of tried to keep me in place, you mean? Or
no,
where I
think I have a
I have an example.
I have a guess to leave being a professor, which has a certain level of economic whatever, and to do what you're doing now has a different economic kind of runway. I guarantee you had to give yourself some permission to kind of change that. Tell me if I'm wrong or right.
No, 100%. Yeah. And, I kind of built a wooden bridge out. It wasn't a steel bridge. It wasn't a rope bridge. Right. Mm-hmm. But I knew that if I followed my curiosity and where my energy was, that the money would come, and thankfully it has. because if I love what I do, that's going to show up with my clients, and
Yeah.
it's going to translate, and it does, because I'm passionate about what I do. But yeah, I mean, I think it's such an interesting thing that we, at least, I love the fact that Dana Carvey was self-aware enough to say,
Mhm.
why is this the soundtrack, to use your
Yeah.
language, right?
Yeah.
Why am I in the grip of that? And again, it might be something that's true, but it might be something that we could push back on as well, right?
For you, what's something you've had to give yourself permission to do? Like maybe it is a family trip around the world, or to purchase or spend time on, that maybe doesn't have an immediate, like, oh, why did you go chase that curiosity? It's not, you can't monetize it. Like, where's an example you've had to give yourself permission to do something like that?
So I just ordered a Lexus.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
I've never owned a new car. I'm driving
Yeah.
an old car. I pay off cars right away. I'm actually, I'm buying it. I'm not. So I have all
Yeah.
kinds of things and rules, and I've never owned a new car. It's always been a
Yeah.
used car that was 5 or 6 years old. And so
Mhm.
it came to this decision, and I had to talk to my wife. I had to talk to, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
but again, it was one of those things where, like, I work really, really hard. And is it a crime for me to, quote unquote, reward myself in that way with a brand that I absolutely love and have great
Yeah,
passion for? Right?
when we
We've
do the
both
work
been there.
we do,
Yes.
you sit there and you're like, I'm an idiot if I don't own one of these.
Yes,
Like, you want
yes.
to run out the room and buy one of me. I get it.
Yes. Well, we sat in that room together and
Yeah.
listened to
Yeah.
the founders. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
yeah, I want to be a part of that, and I want to experience that. And so that was an example for me, for sure. That
Oh,
sounds,
totally.
and to your point about how others are going to experience the conversation, there might be some listeners that are like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, he's buying
Oh,
himself a Lexus, Mr. Big Pants,
Yeah.
Um,
And it's so funny when you bump into somebody else's about like what they think and why they think it. And I'm fine if it's a deliberate, if it's deliberately drawn,
Yeah.
meaning like I have a neighbor and he loves how many miles he's put on a Camry. Like he loves it. Like that's a passion for him. Like
Yeah.
he's got over 300,000 miles. He's not doing that because he's like, I only deserve this. He's like, oh, this is fun to me. Like I'm gonna try this. Like it's almost a hobby at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm fine when it's something that's deliberate and healthy and intentional. It's not great when you picked it up along the way and just believe that's, and where I coach, like speakers, where I see that they have a hard time with is as they raise their fee.
Mm.
Like, so the last lesson of the day is climbing the fee ladder. Like, how
Yeah.
do you raise your fee?
Yeah.
And it's okay, because you get to these moments where it's like, oh, you think your time is worth that? Or like, oh, you
Yes.
think, and you have to have other people in the room that are like, oh yeah, that dude, let's go. Like, I know people that get $50,000 for a 45-minute keynote. Like
Yeah.
that is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
but if you don't know that exists and you try to go from 0 to 5 to 7,500 to 10 to 12, there's all these little like acceptable success lines you have to break through.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that fees, that's definitely a place that gets my attention quickly. Right. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
constantly bumping up against that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm ending off the podcast these days by just saying, what's the practical wisdom in this conversation we've just had? What do you think, Jon?
Well, I mean, the practical wisdom is you get to be remarkable. Like it's not for special other people. I love telling people that listen to podcasts like this, like you're a high performer, and they always go, "Well, no, I'm not," because it's other people who are high performers, not me. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're already a high performer, because low performers never go to this category. They don't know this category of podcast. They certainly aren't like, hey, I need to better myself with a conversation. Like, so congratulations, you're already a high performer. You're already on the road to remarkable. And then a really practical kind of, you could actually do this I would just spend 15 minutes a day for 7 days in a row on one of the things you're curious about. We use that word curious a lot. I like to audition goals. I think most resolutions fail, New Year's resolutions fail, because we try to do something for a year we've never done for a day.
Yeah.
And that's like marrying somebody you just met at speed dating. So what if you just said, I'm curious about blank, and I'm going to dedicate 15 minutes of time to it 7 days in a row. And then if it goes well, I'm going to double down. Maybe I'll add 20. Maybe I'll add 5 more, whatever. If you do that consistently, man, you're amazed at where you end up.
I love that phrasing. Auditioning goals. That's awesome. Okay, sir. For listeners, there's links in the show notes to Jon's books. They're awesome. I would suggest listening to them because he's hilarious. And it's whether
I appreciate that.
Driving a sewing machine across Texas or wherever that was,
that was across Texas. Yeah, it was a Yaris.
Yes.
It was a Yaris. Yeah. I remember you had a roll down window. I didn't think I put that in there. It was like, it hurts. I went to press the button to get the window down. No button. No. I was like, what? It was a roll down. I was like, are we still making these? Yeah, that was. And I had to do that the other day. I drove from Oklahoma City to San Antonio because the flight got canceled.
Yeah, I saw that on LinkedIn.
Scott, I don't know if there's a part of I-35 that's not under construction right now. It is bonkers, dude. I somehow got in commuting traffic in Oklahoma City, in Dallas, in Austin, and it was a rolling caravan of me and a bunch of other people. So I spent a lot of time in your glorious city.
We could not sit in a coffee shop, but go on a walk, and we could talk about a lot of war stories. And so actually a soundtrack, your work impacted me in this way. So we'll just close out with this. But I was, as you know, an airport or travel is a wonderful opportunity to practice emotional intelligence. I mean, it just is. So now literally and it's not if, it's when things go wrong. And I have a fascinating list of things that can go wrong on airplanes, as you do in travel.
Yeah.
Deep breath, physiological sigh. And the mantra or the soundtrack is, okay, you're in session. Practice emotional intelligence. This is your master class. You're in it. Literally out of DFW this spring, 2-hour flight turns into 9 hours on the airplane. Just the whole time I was in the black belt. I kind of walked into the studio where the black belts were training for that one.
I thought we were just going to train for 15 minutes.
No,
oh no,
this is 9 hours
seminar. Yeah.
I so appreciate you. I so appreciate you, sir. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I'll see you again another event. It was super fun to hang out. If you're in Nashville, the door's always open. So would love to see you. And next time I'm in Dallas, I'll reach out.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Be well.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Practical Wisdom for Leaders, the official podcast of the International Leadership Association. Be sure to leave a rating, share this episode with someone in your network, and visit the show notes for links, references, and additional resources. You can also subscribe to the Practical Wisdom for Leaders newsletter for more insights and resources. Link is in the show notes. I lead retreats for senior leadership teams, conduct engaging workshops, and deliver inspiring keynotes for organizations across industries. To learn more, visit www.scottjallen.net. Until next time, keep changing lives.